But, you know, like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk. I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk. I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
We say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Cracklin Oat Bran.
Have you had Cracklin Oat Bran?
No,
No. Okay.
but it's healthy.
Are you a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
You have a gallon of milk I can also take home.
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch. Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, hardly ever, at 10:21 p.m. Central Standard Time on a Wednesday night is my good friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I haven't talked enough. Had a big ball of mucus just waiting for me.
Just waiting for you right there, Al.
I was gonna say you're back in the cave.
I'm back in the cave. Yeah, back in the pod cave. Back in the dunk
Very cool.
cave of dunk.
Hey, when you're doing podcasts by yourself, do you sit behind the big desk? Do you use the big desk?
Yes, I'm using the big desk right now.
Cool.
Yeah. I have another setup over there, but I just have to move everything, and I don't like that. So keep everything here. Got back from Vegas today, just in time to miss Usman Jang's coming out party. I'm really sad I wasn't at that game in particular because it was in the small gym, and that gym is the best gym to watch a basketball game in, because if you feel like you're in a high school gym and but you're watching NBA players. It's the coolest thing ever. So, but Vegas was super fun. The Thunder played great tonight. In particular, Chet Holmgren and Usman Jang were amazing. If you watch the broadcast, it was just funny. Them just consistently not knowing how to say Jang's name. Jing, I think, is what they settled on most of the time.
I was watching on mute.
Oh, you weren't? Yeah, good for you. Jing. I heard Dieng. I heard lots and lots of different versions.
Lol Ding.
Lol Ding was awesome tonight. 22 points, 9 boards, 6 assists, a steal, 9 of 11 from the field, 3 or 4 from 3. Stats are great. You know, he's done things similar to this before, but what really struck me was the confidence in the way that he did it, because he was calling for the ball. Like, they'd cross half court and Jang would kind of hang back and just wait and be like, no. Like, this is my possession. Like, let me initiate this. And he was ridiculous tonight.
Yeah. In his first game of Summer League, I tweeted out that he had a long way to go. And, I'm happy to eat some crow tonight, Andrew, some Summer League crow. Cook it up, serve it up to me. I'll suck it down, that crow, because, he's been great. He's been very good for a while, but this was probably the best Oos game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's had good games in the NBA.
Yeah.
But yes, the confidence, and like early on, he had that awesome kind of like semi-transition play where he crossed up the dude and had just that big sweeping dunk. And you're like, wow, that's really great. That's very cool. And he had a bunch more really nice transition plays where he's catching the ball and finishing. And I'm like, that's great. But that's what he's been good at. He's been good in transition. Yep. He is good when he gets to the basket. But man, that fourth quarter, those threes that he was hitting,
dude.
he's been taking some of those, and in the past when he's taken those,
Yeah.
I've always like rolled my eyes a little bit, like you're a sub 30% shooter or whatever, and these are the threes you're going to start taking. Like, what do you think is going to happen? And then tonight, like he didn't just make them. It's not like he banked them in. It was like nothing but net. It was just the cleanest looking moves I've seen. Like him crossing up a guy, doing a step back with these pull up threes. I was just like kind of blown away. Like I just haven't really seen that outside of like maybe he'll have one like that, but he had at least 2 threes there towards the end where it's like, wow, that is legitimately impressive that you have the confidence to take it, that you have the moves to be able to do that, and that it went in and just looked so pretty from beginning to end.
Oh, just like went just swish through the net.
Yeah.
And it was the dribble step back. It was like, I'm going to create this out of nothing. You know, it wasn't like Casey Wallace or somebody was creating off an attack. It was late shot clock. Who's going to get a bucket? And you're like, oh my gosh. Like there's just not a lot of guys at his size.
Well, there was
one
of those shots. So like in the fourth quarter, they just start spamming like Chet pick and rolls or like getting the switch and then just to get Chet matched up with a guy who's like 6'4". That was like the entire second half, it felt like. And so there was a play like that with Oos where he had the ball and they might have gotten a switch or as a pick and roll. And I just like so focused on Chet because they've thrown it into him like every single time that I missed Oos taking the three. Like I had to rewind it to be like, wait a second, what just happened? Like what? Because I just assumed they were going to pass it to Chet again. And yeah, super impressive stuff from Oos.
Yeah.
You want to see it in the NBA. You want to see it
yes.
against guys who are taller than 6'6". That was the first game where it felt like we were finally getting revenge for these last 2 years when we were always the super tiny team. And now we could finally play this team where I'm pretty sure Chet and Oos were the tallest guys on the court.
Yeah.
And then J. Will's probably tied up there with Oscar Tshiebwe. Like we were giants compared to them.
Yeah.
And that's why like Chet had an amazing stat line. So many of those shots were like him basically dunking over a guy who's 6'4".
Yeah.
Which is very cool. It was nice, the stats. But I don't know how often that is going to happen in the NBA. It was great that the Pacers just kept switching. Just like, yeah, we'll put a tiny guard on you.
Yeah. No, Chet was amazing. And again, it's the defense. Obviously, the offensive part stuck out tonight too. I mean, his stat line's ridiculous. 25, 9, 2 assists, 5 blocks, a steal, 9 of 15 from the floor, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Was 0 of 2 from 3, but he was scoring inside whenever he wanted, like you mentioned, and just was wreaking havoc in like pick and roll settings. I mean, they'd set like these double screens and he would just roll to the bucket, just almost be wide open. And he had several just wide open dunks. He looked great. But the defense just really stuck out. I mean, the 5 blocks were loud, like all of them. And he blocks in transition. He had Jarris Walker at the rim. He just looks amazing. And he's going to easily fill gaps on this team where last year there just wasn't anybody even close to this that could contribute in this way.
No, yeah, there was one of my favorite plays of his tonight. I think he actually ended up he either fouled a guy or it was a goaltend. I don't remember what it was eventually called, but it was like a second effort thing where he like prevented him from getting the shot off first, but then the guy got the ball back and he came right back to him and was able to cover some like decent ground. And I thought he blocked him, but they must have called it a goaltend or whatever. But yeah, just his activity around the rim. It is so hard to get off shots against him, to get off good shots against him.
Yep.
And speaking team wide, like you look at that opening lineup they had, man, that's like a pretty formidable defensive lineup. And even though it was close early on, you know, I mean, it was like a couple point game either way. The Pacers were having to take also some terrible shots. Like they were taking a lot of mid-range shots during that time. So even as the game was close, you could see like, wow, this defense is really forcing this team into some shots they don't really want to take.
Mm-hmm.
And who was it? It was like Jared Butler, Kaysen, Dieng, J. Will, and Chet, right?
Yeah.
Just like a really versatile defensive lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you just think about throwing some of the other guys that they have on this team into some of these lineups. They could be a terror, Andrew, a terror for teams.
I mean, I think like a lot of young teams would be satisfied with this like lineup, like as their young team.
Yeah, imagine being a ball handler and like, oh, you're so happy. I just got past Lou Dort somehow, and then you got Chet waiting for you like immediately behind.
Yeah,
It's
that's the thing. That's the
level of skill you need to break down this defense now is so much higher than it has been in previous years.
And they already had a top half of the league defense. You know,
what do you think? Top 5? Are you? Is that your bold prediction?
I don't know if they'll be top 5 this year, but I mean, they're going to have like the shell of what will be a top 5 defense for a long time. I think. I don't know if it'll be this year, but like that's it's on the way. There's just no question about that. Speaking of defense, Kaysen Wallace did not play well offensively tonight. I guess at least shooting the basketball, only took 7 shots, 2 of 7, 4 points, but contributed defensively well, contributed in just like kind of setting the table, bringing the ball up. Like he's super steady. He didn't play like he did in the first game, hadn't played like that since, and that's okay. But finished with 4, 5, and 5, only 1 turnover.
Yeah, I thought he was better than he was on Tuesday. I guess that was yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked great in that game. And, you know, I've been a little underwhelmed with his passing. I wouldn't say he makes safe passes. Like he does try stuff. And I found, especially in the Tuesday game, but like when he would get into the lane, he just had a lot of trouble with interior passing.
Yeah.
It was constantly like bouncing off an opponent's foot or bouncing off a teammate's foot. Just like getting the angles correct, or he'd make a bounce pass and like the defender would catch up to it very quickly. He looked good when he was like driving and kicking out to a shooter. I thought he was very good at those type of passes. So, you know, it's something to watch going forward. We were on such a high after that first game.
So much.
And I do wish, I mean, like 7 shots. I mean, Jared Butler, come on, man, 18 shots. I don't know if I need.
Jared Butler's trying to get a 2-way, man. That's what this is about. Jared Butler's trying to get a 2-way.
Is that how he's going to do it,
dude? This is why summer league is like the best and the worst, all wrapped up in one. Is because you have legitimately. This is the chance for some of these guys that don't have guaranteed deals to figure it out and to show people that I've got something. And they don't care what Kaysen Wallace does. The dude's got a guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
Like who cares? This is why summer league is like just.
I care.
You throw it away for the most part. Like good, bad, whatever. Like you have to take all of it with a grain of salt, just because, like you said, the Pacers were like outrageously small tonight, and
not necessarily in a fun way. It wasn't like, oh, this is really cool what they're doing. It's like, no, they're just small.
No, like this is just like a team that was just put together 2 weeks ago with the goal of maybe finding some guys to put at the end of the roster.
I just feel like for Jared Butler, I mean, the moments when he looked the best, I thought he had some really nice moments running pick and roll with Chet. I mean, there were at least 2 lobs.
I was gonna say he threw a really nice lob to him. That was cool. Seeing Chet finish like the one-handed lob in particular was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm fine with him taking threes. You know, I think I believe in his like catch and shoot abilities.
Yeah.
It's just on some of these drives, he almost has like the Abdul Nader thing where you're just like,
just an adventure.
Yeah. Like, I just don't know where this is headed. Like his decision-making is just so hot and cold because I've seen him make like really good plays, but then he'll just like dribble into a guy. And instead of passing it out, he'll then try to take a shot somewhere in the mid-range.
Yeah.
And those are the ones where it's just like, even if you made it, that's not like helping your stock. Like it's a bad shot. Like you have to pass it out. So that was a little frustrating, especially when, you know, this is Kaysen, his only 3rd game and he's getting 7 shots.
Yeah. The thing about Kaysen to me is like he was built in a lab to like accentuate what this team does, at a high level. And he's going to come in, he's going to play defense, he's going to take open shots, he's going to fill the lane in transition. I think he's going to help with a lot of things. Is he going to be like a primary creator? I mean, probably not, at least to start with. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was watching these last two games. I was thinking, like, if I was a fan of a young rebuilding team and they had drafted Kaysen and the plan was for, like, they didn't have a point guard and like he was coming in as their main point guard.
Yeah,
I would be a little more concerned.
sure.
But you look at this draft, and I kind of think he fits into the mold that a lot of these guys fit in, where I feel like a lot of the guys taken in the lottery kind of project as high-end role players.
Yeah, like
I think like
pieces. Yeah,
like Grady Dick, Derek Lively, even Asar Thompson, like even some of the guys higher up, Jarris Walker, obviously, like they all kind of fit that kind of high-end role player model.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think Kaysen will look better when he's playing with better players.
Mm-hmm.
I was still a little underwhelmed, obviously. It's not like he had a great game. I'm not trying to make it sound like something it wasn't. But I'm also not worried. I mean, the shooting display that we saw in the first game, specifically the types of threes he was shooting, that three where he was under the basket and moved to the corner and caught it and immediately shot it. Like, those are the types of plays that get you super excited, because the Thunder just haven't really had guys who take those kind of threes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. A couple questions from the chat from David Johnson. What's your favorite lineup going into the season, Al?
Favorite lineup. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to leave two guys off of it. This isn't going to be a defense lineup, Andrew. I'm going starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So J-Dub, Chet, Giddey, Shea, Isaiah Joe.
Okay.
Isaiah Joe. That's going to be my favorite lineup.
Yeah.
Into the season.
I mean, after tonight, you want to see Shea, Giddey, J-Dub, Oos, Chet.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. After tonight.
And then I also want to see Kaysen in there instead of Oos. I also want to see Micic in there instead of Oos.
Yeah, I will say
throw a lot of guys into the lineup.
With Oos, man, on defense, I like him so much on the perimeter.
Yeah.
I don't like him as much when he's being forced to be around the basket. Like in that Dallas game,
J-Dub would be the 4.
Yeah, J-Dub can be the 4. Because in that Dallas game, the beginning of that game, he was getting bodied a lot around the rim.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, like when he's guarding those same guards on the perimeter, like I love it. Like I think that's where he makes the most sense. So we used to talk about, like, is Poku really a secret 3?
Yeah.
Maybe Oos is the secret 3. Maybe
he just moves more like a 3 than Poku did.
Yeah.
Because when Poku started to put on a little bit of weight, he's never put on like a ton of weight, obviously. It's just like it distributed itself just in his trunk,
which is cool.
It's pretty cool. And then as like Oos fills out, like you can see him like getting bigger, like through his shoulders.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's big wings like that out in the NBA. And so
are there any when you were at Summer League, were there any murmurs about guys getting taller?
I mean, people mention Şengün for sure.
I'm talking Thunder. I don't care about the Rockets.
I mean, not really. Not like
no.
I mean, not
no murmurs.
Not in like a substantial way. No.
All right.
I mean,
I was hoping you were going to tell me like Oos is actually 7 foot now.
I don't think he is. He's still super tall. Chet is huge. Chet's shoulders look noticeably different to me.
Yeah. He definitely looks bigger.
Like standing next to him last year, like his shoulders like would like collapse in a little bit, and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like this dude, like is he ever going to be able to do it?" And then like standing next to him after game 1 in Vegas, like he was like you can tell like his shoulders are like filling out, which didn't even seem possible last year. Like, he definitely looks stronger. And
yeah, when they do the side by side of him during the telecasts from
Yeah.
last year, this year, it is pretty noticeable.
yeah,
Even
Yeah,
beyond the beard.
yeah, it's impressive. Hoops Talk 69 asked, would we have taken Koulibaly over Kaysen if he was still available? I mean, I don't know that definitively, but I think we have to think about it this way. Would there have been minutes for Koulibaly to actually develop on this team? Is a question that I would ask. When you really think about it, if they're still trying to develop Dieng, which he played great tonight, but they're still going to have to play developmental minutes for him, where maybe he's not great for like 2 weeks and still try to develop him through that. Can you do that with Koulibaly as well? Because Koulibaly he's a long ways away. Like defensively, he's done some stuff similar to Dieng, where it's like, hey, like defensively, you can see the path to them playing right away. But then offensively, like he doesn't have like the self-creation stuff. Like he's going to need somebody to set him up. He's going to need somebody to kind of guide him along. He's going to play a lot of G League minutes. At least he would have played a lot of G League minutes for this team. Now for the Wizards, I think they can afford to just play him with the big guys. But I just question it. After watching him some in Vegas, I just question whether it would have made sense to develop him. Because when you see the way they went with Kaysen, it's like, oh yeah, you can watch Kaysen play for just 10 minutes and you say, oh yeah, there's a path to him playing this year on this team. But when you watch Koulibaly, it's like, oh man, like he's far away from truly contributing at the NBA level. So definitively, I don't know. But those are the questions that I ask myself when I watch Koulibaly versus.
I think one thing you can say definitively is he is in a much better spot in Washington than he would have been in Oklahoma City. Like for his career,
yes,
he would have been like the perfect pick back in like the Poku draft.
Oh,
if the Thunder drafted a player like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Where you can just give him all the minutes, let him try all the things,
yeah,
and do it at an NBA level.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really what you want to see, and he's going to get that opportunity in Washington, playing next Kuz. So I think for him, it was a much better situation that he landed in.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, just to get playing time for these young guys is going to be so crucial, and I just wonder moving forward if the Thunder can afford to have like long-term extensive projects like that, because they're going to start winning basketball games. Maybe they don't win 50, this year, but it's possible they do the year after that. And I mean, you just can't develop them. And they even tried it. When we saw with the Warriors trying to do 2 timelines, like you can't do it. I mean, the Thunder tried to do 2 timelines. Remember? And like the Thunder were like one of the first teams to like really try to do it when they had KD, Russ, Serge, Perk, all those guys. And then they had Jeremy Lamb and Perry Jones. And they had Reggie Jackson was a part of that to begin with. And he was like the only one that like really made it.
Yeah.
But it is tough because those dudes just can't play. Like, you just can't play them. And the coaches just won't play those guys. So that's just kind of where I sit with Koulibaly. I'm glad that he went to the Wizards. I'm not sure there was a destination in the top 10 that made as much sense as the Wizards. I'm not sure anybody else could have given him this time, because you look at like where the Pacers are headed. The Pacers are kind of in the same boat as the Thunder. Like, they need guys that can play right now. You can see Jarris Walker. Like, yeah, the dude's ready to play. Like, he can play next year. Is he going to have some bumps in the road? Sure. But like, he's good enough to play next year. Koulibaly, no. Like, he's just not there yet. And that's okay. It's not like he's going to have a bad career. But yeah, I don't see that.
I was trying to look. Oh, here we go. I was just trying to see what other teams would have made sense. I guess the Jazz were maybe interested in him.
I think the Jazz were. They do make sense to a degree. I'm interested to see how Utah looks. I think they probably don't make the play-in again, would be my guess. But also, I'm a little bit confused by their play. And I talked to a lot of people in Vegas about Utah and I just kind of fundamentally disagree with a lot of people about it because they just seem like they're on track to pick 9th for the next 3 years, and they're just they need to have like a big trade or something.
Yeah, and even like they've been talked about as a potential Tyler Hero destination, which like I don't know.
Big, like whatever to me. Like it's a big like why? Like what?
Especially when you see that what Keontae George has done, and you're like, why wouldn't you just
let Keontae play? He's looked really good.
So yeah, I'm very interested in what they're doing. The over-unders, some over-unders came out today for the season.
Oh, I didn't see these.
I'll tell you right now. So OKC was 42.5, which is exactly what I thought they were going to be, and I wish I had tweeted it out.
Okay.
Because with all of these over-unders, this is my favorite time of the year because every fan base is going to talk themselves into the over.
Oh,
and 42.5 is like
what are the Rockets? What are the Rockets?
They are 30. I think they're 31.5.
Wow.
Here, let me just bring it up. I think Dane Moore tweeted out all the Western Conference ones.
I got to meet Dane Moore in person.
Oh yeah,
at the media party.
Okay,
got to hang out.
Was he cool?
He's cool, taller than expected. Very nice guy. They had at the media party, the food they served us was hilarious. It was essentially pigs in a blanket, fried mac and cheese, and basketball-shaped cake pops. And I'm just like, they know we are children because they're serving us children food.
That would have been a big old trip to the toilet for old Al Baby Cakes. Okay, so the Clippers and Blazers are off the board because Clippers may get James Harden and Blazers may trade Damian Lillard, if you haven't heard.
What?
Spurs are the lowest, 30.5. Now, that in and of itself,
that's the Blazers, lowest?
Yes, the Blazers are going to be low. The Blazers will be like 23.5 or something.
Yeah, they should be like 20.5.
The thing that stuck out to me about all of these numbers is, yes, how high everything is. 30.5 for the...
If the Spurs win 30, I would do something crazy. I don't know.
Rockets 31.5, Jazz 34.5. So those three teams are kind of grouped together, and then it jumps up to the Thunder, which are at 42.5. Wolves 43.5, Pels, Kings all 43.5. The Kings are 43.5.
Wow,
interesting.
That is interesting.
The Grizz are 45.5, Mavs 45.5, Lakers 48.5, Warriors 49.5, Suns 51.5, and Nuggets 54.5.
Wow, that's high for the Warriors, by the way.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, obviously these are like people will bet the over on them. There will be people who think the Warriors are going to 50 games, and maybe they could. But I think what's interesting is, Vegas is kind of predicting a similar like jumble of teams in the West as we saw last year.
Yeah.
Not really predicting some separation like we may have seen in the past. I mean, even the fact that the Nuggets are there at 54.5, that would once again be like a really low total for a 1 seed in the West. But that's similar to what happened last year. So, I was very interested in the Rockets number just because Rockets fans are understandably excited about the Summer League. I mean,
it's been great.
Amen Thompson.
It's been great for them.
I'll say this, Andrew. This might be a bold take. I think Amen Thompson's their best prospect. I just feel like he knows how to play basketball. And I really like what I saw from him.
Yeah, he was really good. And he played like 27 minutes.
And the idea that he is going to come off the bench because you have to play Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. Whatever.
I'd be super duper pissed about that.
I would as well.
About both of them. I know people are like, well, you can't be mad about Fred VanVleet. He's going to help reset the culture. It's like,
great. I want to watch Amen Thompson play.
Yeah, let me watch all the cool players that we have play games, not this tiny little overpaid point guard. I'd be so
tiny.
Mad. He's tiny. I'd be so mad. I'd be so and I know they got to get to the salary floor. Like I don't want guys taking minutes from those awesome prospects that I have. I don't want that. I would agree.
I would have rather given like Ish Smith $20 million. Just have Ish Smith come in.
Well,
he can be the vet.
or
Everyone likes Ish Smith.
Or just say, hey, Bruce Brown, how about 25 million?
Sure. A guy who's used to coming off the bench, really high level role player.
Yeah. I
would have felt better about that as well.
Yeah.
But whatever. My point is that Rockets fans are excited. Some people are excited about the Houston. And I was very interested to see where that over under came in because
me too.
Most Rockets fans are saying like based on their moves, they're expecting like 35 to 38 wins. And that's kind of seen as like a reasonable take. And so for this number to come in at 31.5, which I think is pretty fair, like I bet that will be the most bet over this year. That is what I'm going to bet right now. Last year it was the Pistons.
I was going to say
the most bet over. I will bet that Rockets are the most bet over this year at 31.5.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, I would still take the under, but that's cool.
I would too, but it's not going to shock me if they win 34 games. I will not be blown away. It's more people feeling confident that they're going to take a big leap, like getting to play-in range, which depending on how you count it, the amount of games they would have to win would put them up there with some of like the biggest one season turnarounds for a bad team.
Yeah, I mean
there have been teams who have won a lot in between season to season. In fact, I was looking back at our surprise team Excel file.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the other thing about this list. Like, there's not going to be a ton of options, I feel like, this year because you have to choose a team who has projected under 36 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, at least for the West, it's just going to be Blazers, Spurs, Rockets, Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't seen anyone list out the Eastern Conference, but I can go look at what those are. There's probably going to be a couple more teams. What do you think Detroit's at?
Are they at like 33.5?
33.5?
Yeah.
They are at 27.5.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of interesting.
If they won 27 games.
Dude, I saw Trill, bro dude, tweet this the other day that Troy Weaver's not going to have a job in 6 to 12 months. And I agree with that. I don't see how everything is going to coalesce.
Yeah. Ivy did not look good.
Like so many things have to coalesce this season. Their big man situation has to get figured out. Like Cade has to come back and be way better than he was as a rookie.
Yeah,
for them to seriously make a big jump.
Also, like, welcome back to zero spacing, Cade Cunningham.
You don't believe in beef stew.
Dude, he shot 32% from three.
So you don't believe in him. Interesting.
Who's guarding him? Like, what he might make 36% this year, but I promise you, 0% will guard him. 0%. That's what matters. That's how you create space. Is that people care that you shoot it. If people like whatever, like same with like Poku, like no one's gonna guard Poku.
Oh, speaking of Poku, I got to bring this up. People probably saw this today. The Volume Sports. I think that's Colin Cowherd's thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yes,
they have an account, and there's a guy. His name's Jason. I forget his last name, but he had just like a little segment about how he thought the Thunder should trade for Dame. Okay. I don't care about that. Obviously, they're never going to do that. But what I thought was interesting was, and I always think this is interesting, is hearing people outside of OKC start listing off players in the roster. Because he lists off the starting five, which includes Dame now. He moved Giddey to the bench. He said, and then on their bench, they'd have Giddey, Trey Mann. He named Trey Mann 7th on the roster. That was a little red flag.
People don't know how to talk about the Thunder yet. People just have no clue how to talk about the Thunder yet.
And then he named Poku 8th. I was like, wow, this is a very interesting rotation. This gentleman is bringing up Trey Mann 7th and Poku 8th.
I mean, Thunder fans aren't just flat out aren't thinking about Poku. I mean, that's just the reality.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to trade for Damian Lillard.
I don't either. I don't either.
You know what I will say though? I've been thinking about this. Being a Thunder fan,
Mhm.
I think a lot of our opinions are because we feel like we understand Presti's plan well. So like even if an opinion is valid, like when people were talking about, oh, we should go like throw an offer at Grant Williams or John Collins, we should trade for John Collins, something like that.
Sure.
Like, yeah, in a vacuum, like a completely reasonable take to have, and you can make pros and cons for these things.
Yeah.
But it's like we can't even go there because we know it's not going to happen. Like it's
Well,
never going to happen. And that's the thing with the Dame thing. Like I can't even
fathom.
like do a bit. I can't even
No.
have a conversation because it's just never going to happen.
I know it was where McKelly tried to get me to dream big about a trade. Like,
Yeah.
2 or
What
3
did
weeks
you
ago.
say? You
I
want
don't
to
even remember. I think I said Clint Capella and the Thunder get 2 seconds back or something.
Yeah, cool.
It's like, what is wrong with me? I've lost it.
Until it happens, and I know people will point like you can point to the Paul George trade. I mean, that was a huge trade.
Yeah, it was a huge trade.
Absolutely. That was out of nowhere. But it was like
Yeah.
at such a different time point.
It was
And
at like a desperate time of like, okay, like where are we going? What are we gonna do? This team this team is stuck in mediocrity and there's no way out. And then they've got Paul George. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, if one of these things ever does happen, I'm happy to come on here and say what an idiot I've been for not believing it.
Sure. Zach Bobernick says, well, we did trade for Garuba in Washington. Didn't expect that.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Also, did not expect
That's
that.
basically a Dame trade.
I just have giggled to myself about those trades just because the Thunder have just gone round and round and just like squeezed every pick they can out of these trades. And
Can
the
I
Rockets,
say something about the Rockets?
yeah, please.
So these series of dumb trades come out.
Yeah.
Even Rockets fans are like, that's stupid. Why did we have to give up picks
The
to get
Rockets
rid
fans
of?
are like legitimately mad about it. Yeah.
And then the Rockets come out and they're like, well, we thought Brook Lopez was coming.
Yeah.
And when he rejected us, we didn't want to be jerks to the Hawks. So we still went through with the deal that was on the table. Okay. I feel like we hear all the time around draft time how there were potential deals on the table, but it was contingent upon a certain guy falling to this spot.
Sure.
If you're the Rockets, why can't you just say to the Hawks, hey, if something goes wrong here, we're not going to do this deal. We're only going to do this deal if Brook Lopez signs with us. Why is that so crazy? And so they're trying to get their fans to believe that, like, oh, they're upstanding. We just have to be upstanding and stick to our guns and be nice to the Hawks. We don't want to screw them up. Like, why didn't you just? Well, did they really not say that? They didn't say like, hey, by the way, if Brook Lopez like screws us here, like we're not doing this, okay? Why would you not say that?
You'd be like, hey, I want to buy a bunch of chlorine tabs if I get a pool. You know, like contingent on having a pool. Like,
dude, and this is basically what happened.
Like, I guess I just have to buy all these chlorine tabs. I just have to have them.
I have to do it.
I have to be in the backyard now. Sorry.
I have to be honorable to Home Depot.
It was the honorable thing to do to buy the chlorine tabs.
And isn't this what happened with Chris Bosh? Didn't they make like a bunch of moves in preparation for Chris Bosh and then he screwed them over?
Yeah.
It just feels like just make some contingency plans.
It's just
you don't have to write every trade in blood and say I'm going to do it no matter what.
I think it's slight incompetence with pressure from ownership that is causing that situation in Houston. You know, like I think that's the reason why this is the way it is, you know, and why they make trades where like the Thunder, this is where Presti has an advantage is like ownership is just like, yeah, we trust that you're going to do the right things. And he gets to sit back and he gets to like think about these things and then he gets to make the calls without it. Like, who cares if they don't get the second rounder and Ty Washington and Garuba? Who cares? For Houston, it's like just for the chance to make this happen, they have to like scramble and may have agreed to it not because it's honorable, but because they're desperate to get better because they're going to lose their jobs. There's a podcast coming out tomorrow that I did with Kelly Eco, and he said if they don't win 40 games next year, heads are going to roll.
Might as well start sharpening the blade.
And then Kelly starts doing this toward the end of the podcast.
Oh, those are heads rolling?
Talking about heads rolling. That's what I mean. That's
40 games.
That's where this is headed. That's what he said. That's where this situation is headed. So that's why those things are happening, is because I mean it's similar to what was going on in Orlando. You know, years ago when they dealt for Serge Ibaka and they made all these little moves to try to get better right now because ownership was like, hey, you better be better next year, and if you're not, you're gone.
Well, the funny thing to me is like, if people remember, I'm not saying it was a lot of people, but like when they waived Isaiah Roby, I remember seeing tweets that were like, hey, this is kind of unfortunate, but this is what happens when you just collect all these draft picks. Like, you're going to have to let go of good players. And meanwhile, like, Houston's giving up first round picks from the last couple of years, and they're having to pay to get rid of them. And it's not like these aren't like, I don't think Ty Washington is some obvious bust. Like, his G League stats are pretty incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that like him. I mean, my expectation with both Ty and Garuba is that, one, they're going to get a good look at him. Two, I think they might be able to extract value out of them individually. Like, there's been people saying like, yeah, I think there are teams that like Ty Washington, and there are teams that like Garuba.
Yeah,
I don't know why they've been like Delta as a package duo every time now. It's kind of hilarious to me that they keep getting passed around as a duo. I think individually they might have some value. So it's just funny to me. I think they'll take a good look. I would guess that Garuba would have a better chance of making the roster over Ty. I also think there's like some background stuff on Ty that's not the best.
Are you talking yourself into Garuba's 40% on 0.8 3-pointers per game? You talking
not at all? Not at all.
Why not? Why not?
I'd talk myself into like the footwork being there as a defender, and just like he's, girthy. I don't know.
Do you know how many threes he took last year?
It's got to be less than 10, right?
No, it's more than 10.
It's more than 10. I didn't watch a ton of Garuba last year, obviously.
59.
Oh, that's.
Do you know how many threes Roby took in his final season with OKC when he shot 44%?
No.
He took 99, just as a comparison. Because he went back to 30% last year with the Spurs.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about pretty small sample sizes.
He's playing for the Knicks. Roby is a lot of Roby.
Is he really in summer league?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, he could be a Obi Toppin replacement.
Yeah, he could be. He could be, but they have his brother Jacob. So that's
Jacob Toppin.
Yeah. Very easy. Usman Garuba's full name is Destiny Usman Garuba Alari.
Yes, I looked that up not too long ago for some reason.
Only 21. I mean, he's 6'8", 220. He's super duper strong. I really liked him in the draft. Like, through the draft process, he's not been impactful as a player at all for Houston, but I think that he'll have a better chance to stick around just because he's a big man. And I think it'll probably come down to he or Jeremiah. And like,
we didn't mention him yet. He played tonight, which was nice to see.
He did.
He missed an incredible number of shots at the rim, including a dunk
and a layup.
But the layup where Jay Will had like a really nice pass.
Oh my gosh, you felt like Jay Will just delivered him a birthday present, just like, here you go, buddy, boo, and he just whiffs the reverse layup. It was just like, come on, man, like this. Like, I really like Jeremiah, like as a person, he's great. I would like for him to be successful. It was just a rough night for him, though.
It was a rough night, and the thing that sucks for him is that like he keeps having these absences, And so, as a Thunder fan, you get kind of antsy, and it's like, oh man, I just want to see him play, like see him healthy again. And then it feels like I'm putting a lot of pressure on like his first game back in the same way in the season when he finally comes back from his ankle injury,
Mm-hmm.
and like expecting him to just like immediately get back to where he was his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
But now it feels like, he's on a clock. Like there's just so many guys vying for those minutes that weren't there 2 years ago when he was a freshman, rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, I am starting to worry that he's going to be, not worry, but like at the beginning of all this, I wasn't really thinking about him being waived.
Yeah.
I thought they're going to give him another shot no matter what, because he had that rough season. He looked really good in his rookie season. They're going to give him another shot. The further the summer goes on, I do start to wonder. I at least wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the cuts.
I wouldn't either at this point, just because Jay Will looks super competent out there as a
He
big.
does.
And I
For
like
what his role will be on this team, I think
yeah.
he looks very competent.
Yeah, I like the way that he looks next to Chet. I think he's a good backup center. Again, I think it'll come down to Jerry and Garuba, and they might cut both of them. Honestly, like that could definitely happen. We don't know what to think about Jack White yet, and they haven't even officially signed him yet. I assume that and Micic will become official relatively soon. So it's gonna be interesting to see where this all goes. But they can carry up to 21 players now. So the expectation for me is that they'll carry 21 players through October, and we'll see something happen then. So,
and we'll talk about it every week, and we'll make our selections.
We'll talk about it on every show every week,
and then he'll actually trade down to 14 players.
Yeah,
we'll actually have an open roster spot. Do you have any favorites for the second two-way spot? Because Keontae has one.
Yeah, Keontae's got one. I just can't bring myself to care that much. I guess.
Well, I know. I didn't ask you to care. I just asked you to answer the question. You can pretend to care or not, because Jared Butler seems like
I like Jared Butler. I've been a Butler guy for a while,
but at the same time, if you're going to use your two-way and hope that a guy could actually play minutes, it would make more sense for that to be a big guy. I would think.
Yeah,
I don't know who that would be.
I don't. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not sure that there's somebody on this roster on this summer league roster that makes a lot of sense there. I don't know. Don't really care. Don't think they could be impactful. Wow. I mean, they could bring back Lindy on a two-way.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I'd actually be into that just because I like Lindy. Other than that, there's just too many players that need minutes on this team for it to really matter, So give it to Lindy. Give it to Lindy. And
man, I guess I thought Ty was 2 years ago. He was in the Chet draft.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it was quite recent.
Man.
Yeah. And was someone that I think should have played more last year. Played well in the G League. Should have played more for the Rockets last year. Instead, they played Dacian Nix. Like just an outrageous.
Who also is gone.
Yeah, he's gone now too, but they played him an outrageous amount of minutes. But yeah. No, I mean, they'll give Ty a chance. I just don't see a path to playing time for him, especially they just brought in two guards that are coming off the bench. You still have Isaiah Joe that's going to play minutes. You still have Wiggins, who's not necessarily a guard, but he's going to play minutes at that kind of wing position. Ty, if he came into play, he'd have to occupy more than just the point guard position because that slot is just like completely filled up.
Yeah.
So I just don't really see it with him. I think that perhaps he's traded or waived or whatever. That would be one of my predictions. So, yeah.
You were talking to Joe, I think, about the trade with the Hawks and just, collecting more second rounders.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the new CBA, I've become kind of obsessed with that Denver trade and kind of looking at that trade as a model going forward for how to consolidate these picks. Now we still don't know the pick protections, which please, Lord, give us the pick protections. This is all we want. Maybe they're saving it for like the lowest, like zero news part of the offseason so that we can get a solid episode out of just talking about the pick protections.
I would appreciate that. Like save it for the last week of July or something.
Also, you know what? You know what would be cool, Thunder? Let let one of us break the news. Wouldn't that be fun? Because who cares, really? It's pick protections. We're the only ones who care. You're going to let Woj break pick protections? He doesn't care about that.
Woj
Those are peanuts for Woj.
Just going to break it, yeah.
Send it. Text Andrew. Just say what it is. It's probably top 5 because that's what it was last time. Andrew will get to tweet it. Everyone will be happy. Why can't we do that?
I wouldn't count on it.
If you're not going to rebrand, just give us the pick protections. We'll call it even. Anyways,
on rebranding.
So so I've started thinking about like some of these teams who have traded all away their picks and also haven't drafted well. So I mean, like the Clippers are an obvious one. Now maybe you like BJ Boston or Jason Preston or whatever, but
no, you don't.
They haven't really. They don't have anything to show for these last couple of years. Like their young player that everyone likes is Terrence Mann, who is 27 years old.
I was going to say he's a fake young guy. Yeah,
he's completely fake young guy. But those teams, those are the types of deals I feel like they should be making.
Yeah,
like Denver, I think, is on the forefront of this. But maybe like a team like Milwaukee, who's finally having picks in the future that they can trade now. Same thing with the Clippers, who finally have picks in the future that they can trade now. Those types of teams, I think, should be making trades like Denver made. And maybe they will going into next draft or something. And so if that's how we end up using some of this incredible assortment of picks that Presti has accumulated, I would love it. Like give them 3 picks, give them 4 picks, a first and a couple seconds that you don't love that much and try to get a future first. I'm totally into that. I think that is a good way to use these.
I mean, I would be totally cool with only having 1 first rounder in next year's draft and pushing all the rest out.
Yeah.
In a draft that's not going to be that good, you could. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I would just try to walk away with whatever the best pick in that draft is.
I mean, this feels like in video games when you have like armor sets and you are selling armor sets to get money to buy new armor sets. And we just keep upgrading until you just have a completely decked out. Maybe it's all black and it has big spikes or something. That's what we could get if we collect all these future first round picks.
Yeah.
We could just be unstoppable in the future. And I would much rather do that than continuing to like, oh, who's the next big star we're going to trade for, when I don't really think that's going to happen. Now, if it does,
I
I'm a
honestly,
dummy.
No, I honestly think that it's a great model right now for this team, because I mean, you look up and down the roster and it's like, try to find guys that you don't like, there's just a lot of guys. I mean, there's like a non-zero chance that they're going to have to figure out something with Aaron Wiggins over the next couple of years, as far as like keeping him or like trading him or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, that's a good player. I think most Thunder fans would sit there and be like, no, we like that guy. We want to keep that guy. But it's like, we're developing all these first round talent. I mean, the writing's going to be on the wall for Poku if he doesn't play well. This year, there's going to be like a lot of guys that are going to be like on the fringe for the Thunder just because they have so much talent and they have all these picks upcoming. And this is why you can do those trades. And I agree. You do those trades with Milwaukee. You do them with the Sixers. You do them with whoever.
Yeah, I was looking at Lakers would be another one, especially because they draft really well. Like if they could get a couple firsts in these next 2 drafts, because I know they still have that outstanding first to New Orleans, and they might even have a swap left with them. But I think that would make sense for them. I don't know. I'm into that idea. And I think those teams should do it too. I think it makes sense for them as well.
It's a win-win. Like make no mistake about it. It's a win-win for Denver.
Absolutely.
And it could be a win-win for whoever needs it. But the truth is the Thunder just don't need those picks right now. Like they don't need to cash in on those now. But if you can continue to push those into 2030, especially with good teams, because the odds that a team right now that is like in the top 5 of their conference, like Denver, like the Milwaukee, like the Sixers, being really good teams in 2030 is extremely low. Extremely low. Those teams are typically not very good. M Webb in the chat says, "What happened to Chet's 3 ball? Looks broken." I'm not sure. I think some of it could be conditioning. Some of it could be confidence. He's front rimming, which means that he's just got to get a little bit more strength into his shot.
And are we sure he's met Chip yet?
Does he know that Chip England is on the team?
I guess he does since he's been on the team for a year. That'd be weird if he didn't meet Chip yet. But you know what? Here's an excuse we can do. Chip's working on his shot, and like we always say, when you first change a shot, you gotta take a step back.
Yeah,
there you go.
I mean, I don't worry about the shooting at all, just because like the free throw touch is ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's kind of the opposite with Oos, where his like mid-range touch and his free throw touch does not give me a ton of confidence about his 3 at all. But then he shoots those shots today, and I'm like, damn, that was really pretty.
So good. He looks so good.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, my other big takeaway, and this kind of goes into what you were just talking about, just watching Summer League and more just looking at rosters around the league.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the NBA is so ready for expansion. There are so many guys deserving of a more dedicated and realistic developmental path in the NBA than are really going to get it right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the guys that are at the end of the roster right now for the Thunder, where it's like Washington and Garuba, who should just be on somebody's roster, getting developmental minutes, whether it's in the G League or like playing on the court. But now they're just like being passed around. It's like, wait a minute, like these were 2 guys that were picked in like the mid-first round. They should have a spot somewhere. This wasn't that long ago.
Just watching Trey Mann those first couple games, like.
Yeah.
You watch those games and you're like, man, I wish there was a team where he could just play 30 minutes a night and see what you really have. Yeah. Because it feels like he's finally at that stage where he could make a jump for him, like really establish himself as an NBA player. But I don't know if he's going to be able to like reach that ceiling in Oklahoma City just because of the roster construction.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know where that could really happen either. Like you look around the league, there's just so many guys. And so, yeah, I do hope they add 2 teams because there's just, I mean, I was watching like just the Spurs, like having Sissoko, Dom Barlow, like these guys who really look like they might have something.
Yeah. Barlow's good.
And you even look at the Spurs roster and you're like, I don't know how many minutes they're going to get on the Spurs next year. So, I hope that happens.
Yeah.
Seems like it will.
Yeah, it seems like that's coming. Real quick before we go, any thoughts on the in-season tournament?
I love it.
Yeah, for it. And
I don't even understand the argument against it because it's still regular season games. So it's like what's putting you off? What's putting people off about this?
People just think that the teams won't care, but it's like
even if they don't, it's just regular season games. Like we're still watching. We still watch those regular season games.
Let's get to the finals in Vegas, like the semifinals and finals in Vegas. People will care. Like those teams will care, and that's and I don't care what teams they are. Like they're going to be some decent teams that get there, and it'll be fun. Like to me, it's just if you are a curmudgeon about it, it's like you just hate fun, I guess.
I have nothing against it. I think that the Thunder are in a great pod. I don't know.
I like their pod.
Yeah, sure. I think they have the 3rd best odds in their pod. I was looking at some odds for the pod.
Yeah. The Warriors and the Kings. I think the Kings will care about it. I'm not sure if the Warriors will care about it.
Who are the other 2 teams? Spurs.
Who's the?
It's not Denver, is it?
No. I'd be very afraid.
No.
If that were the case.
Hey, Do you want to just guess some Eastern Conference over-unders real quick, just to close this out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hornets.
You say the 30 was the lowest just in the West?
Well, other than the Blazers, who are off the board right now, but yeah, 30.5 for the Spurs was the lowest in the West so far.
Okay, 24.5.
31.5. So it sounds like you'll be going under on the Hornets.
Are you kidding me?
No. It sounds like you should go put money on it right now.
I mean, if I was a betting man, I would put money on that right now. That team has like 4 NBA players.
This is the best way to figure out like your strongest takes on teams, because if there's that big of a gap, I feel like that's meaningful. Wizards.
27.5.
Wow, 25.5.
Okay.
You're a little high on the Wiz. A little high on the Wiz.
I mean, whatever.
Raptors.
32.5.
37.5. You're going 32.5. Wow.
I just don't think they're going to be very good.
I
also think that like they're going to have to make a decision on Siakam. Like all the Siakam stuff is like for real.
They're not going to make a decision. They're going to drag this into next summer, and they'll both leave. Pacers.
They're going to screw themselves over if that's the case. Pacers 34.5.
Very close, 35.5.
Okay.
Bulls.
Oh, what a gross team. 38.5.
37.5. Very good. Okay, you finished on a strong note. None of these other teams. I don't like doing the actual good teams.
Yeah,
who cares about them?
Those
I'm really just interested in who could be a surprise team.
Yeah,
and based on what we have so far, now these numbers will change. First of all, the Magic are not candidates anymore. They're 36.5, so they will not be a candidate.
Wow. Congratulations, Orlando! Wow,
congratulations. So we have the Hornets, the Wizards, the Jazz, definitely the Blazers, the Rockets, the Spurs, Raptors do not count. Nets are currently unlisted, I guess, because they could get someone. Pistons and Pacers.
Early candidates for me: Jazz and Pacers.
Yeah, I think I could potentially talk myself into the Jazz. So what would the Pacers are currently at 35.5, so they'd have to win 46 games. Oh, I'd have to think about that if I really want to do that.
Halliburton's really good. That's a lot. That's a big old jump.
That's a big jump.
Big old jump. Okay. We'll have more episodes coming at you guys. The next couple weeks, it's going to be a little weird for me because I'm taking some time off, but we're still going to have 3 episodes a week. This week has been a complete disaster for me, so I apologize for being irregular with the Down to Dunk schedule. I will get 3 podcasts to you this week. That's going to happen. I just don't know exactly when that's going to happen. And the same thing for next week. But then after that, we should be back to normal. So apologies. My Vegas schedule was just absolutely insane. It was great. It was great being there. It was great seeing everybody. Got to meet some dunkers while I was there, which was great. Got to see colleagues and meet people, and it was wonderful. But my responsibilities were through the roof as far as what I needed to do for the Athletics. So could not get as much done as I wanted to for this show in particular. So, but
can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Sportsman 405 just DM me. So he had a list of opposing players' field goal percentage versus everyone on our roster, specifically at the rim. Okay. And against Ousmane Dieng, players shot 8 percentage points worse against him than other players. Because I mentioned earlier I didn't love him around the rim. Maybe there's some evidence that he does actually a pretty good job. So I wanted to bring that up.
Oh.
You know who else was really good? Darius Baisley.
Shout out to Bays.
Bring Bays back.
More blocks than fouls. Bays. Yeah, I'm intrigued by Oos. I need to see more. I need to see it in the regular season, but he was past the summer league test with flying colors. especially with like the self-creation stuff and the confidence was just like, whoa.
Yeah, it was cool.
That was crazy. All right. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. We will talk to you guys again probably tomorrow.